there. And so I think I missed the large
I'm
portion.
not,
so
yeah,
I
you're
apologize
popping
for
off,
that.
Wes, and I'm just,
I might get to say a lot of stuff that I want to say. Go
I'll
ahead.
shut
Yeah.
up.
So
Actually,
let me just say this. So the most quoted verse of the Bible in the Bible is a version of Exodus 34:6, which fundamentally describes who God is, that he's compassionate and loving, full of grace and mercy and abounding in steadfast love. And so, in fact, if you read the book of Jonah, the beef that Jonah has with God, the reason why he doesn't want to go to Nineveh is because he believes that God is so loving that if he tells the Ninevites to repent and they repent, God is going to forgive them. So fundamentally, we have the picture of God consistently throughout the Bible, both in the Old and New Testaments, as being a God who is rich in love and mercy and abounding in steadfast kindness. And so we want a God who is just. And just to speak very briefly to the slavery issue, I mean, Leviticus 25 condemns by death the man stealing. So stealing someone and selling them into slavery. And the fact that the 10 Commandments are prefaced with, you are a nation who was slaves. You know, I'm the God of Israel who brought you out of Egypt. So there's a fundamental difference, and there's lots of literature on this. I would encourage people to read my friend Paul Copan's book, Is God a Moral Monster? He's written some excellent stuff. He's also written on Did God Command Genocide in the Old Testament? He's a leading expert in the field of a comparative analysis of ancient Near Eastern war literature. And so there are very coherent explanations for these things, and that slavery within ancient Israel was very, very different from what slavery around the ancient Near East was like. And on top of that, once again, when abolition movements happen, what's that? Sorry, Billy?
I said slavery continued on throughout the Bible with no problems.
But it was always undergirded by the fact that this was not the ideal, that this was something that should not be done. And even slavery within ancient Israel was fundamentally different than slavery around the ancient Near East. This is not a contested fact. You can look at the scholarship of individuals like Wright, who's written extensively on this. He's an ancient Near Eastern ethicist, and there's vast difference between the law codes in Leviticus, Deuteronomy, and Numbers, and something like the Code of Hammurabi, which puts people on a tier system and gives different punishments depending on where they are within society. That's not true in ancient Israel. If you were a king and you stole somebody and you sold them into slavery, they would punish you by death.
But you steal somebody else's slave. You can't steal somebody else's slave. That's not a good thing to do, right? The point that I'm making here, I got to say something before I get out of here, is the Bible is full of contradictions. The biggest problem that we have is we're dealing with a civilization on this planet that is psychologically impaired. Human beings are psychologically impaired.
Go?
This entire planet.
Where
We're living
go?
on an insane asylum.
What?
Earth is an absolute insane asylum.
That's
Mental
convenient.
illness has spread throughout the planet Earth like a complete virus. And when you take a text like the biblical text, knowing that human beings globally are mentally ill, this entire planet is a mental insane asylum. And I'm talking everyone. All 8 billion, whatever number of people we have now, are all mentally ill. And what I mean is there's different levels of mentally ill. We all have trauma that we're not dealing with. We all have internal issues. We all have situations that shadow work that needs to be done. And some people are at higher levels of mental illness than others. Most of us are functional mental illness people. But when you take a look at the biblical text and you start going through this information, and it's the way that it's laid out, it becomes a proponent of more divide and conquer tactics. It becomes a proponent of racism. It becomes a proponent of slavery. It becomes a proponent of all these things that are dark and ill, including murder and killing in the name of God, which has been done how many millions of times?
but I just got to stop. But if you look at the data, the data says the opposite. The data say the opposite. He just did another
dark forces of maybe if this say.
He just did another debate as well. Just go look at it. This is not what the data says.
So my thing about the biblical text is it actually authored by the creator of the universe, or is it authored by the dark forces of maybe, if this Satan is real, Satan himself? And the reason why I say that is because all-knowing, all-loving, God, omnipotent and omniscient, that is creating not only this universe, probably most likely multiple universes, because a creator never stops creating, especially with infinite power, is now at some point going to author a text that is going to allow human beings to misinterpret it and take it in his name and begin to slave people, torture people, and enslave people worldwide, to claim that you're chosen ones, to set up a state of chosen people, and then to even claim that you have chosen land, and to torture and kill even more people, women and children, in modern times, still going on to this very day. To me, that doesn't seem like a very intelligent being, especially a being that knows the beginning and the end.
Oh,
so if you know the beginning and the end, you have a certain level of foreknowledge. You have advanced knowledge that goes beyond. You know what's the ending before the end even occurs, so you set up everything for success.
Yes, you are correct, Billy. And what you're doing right now is you're arguing from a position of not even being able about it. This is what Billy's doing. So, sorry, I'll let them continue.
Why? Because a genius solves problems before they happen. And I'm going to drop the mic on that.
Dropping the mic on him. Damn.
Yeah, so have
Way to
you
go.
solved
Way
the
to
problem
go.
of your space agency?
This is
yet?
like the lead intellectual Christian guy.
With some of
happened?
that too.
Oh, now he's back after
I think
he
came
mic
back
drop,
on.
huh? Doesn't want to look too bad, huh?
Yeah, there's old stuff
isn't that
that
convenient?
it's hard to comprehend, but the thing that continued to change my life was Jesus, and the core of it was love conquers all things.
I can't miss this.
So yeah, keep going.
All right, brother.
Well,
Mic
we can do a
drop.
follow
I
up.
really appreciate it, Billy. Thanks so much for interacting.
What a fraud. Come on, guys. You know you're lying to yourselves. He just fucking jumped off the goddamn debate, man. Come on.